I was very lucky to hear you all recite the Gayatri Mantra that your teachers have taught you. The root of the Gayatri is the sacred syllable Om. You've heard this before? Om is the seed force of all creation, of all that is. Actually, in our Eastern traditions, the concept of creation itself isn't the full understanding of reality, that there was a start, there's a middle, and there's an end. This is our Western thought. Beginning, middle, end. But Om is eternal. Every day is a new day, so every day is a creation. The end of every day is a night. It is like a dissolution. But we are eternally existing beings. Right? You understand? You believe? Last night we had a big kirtan dance, and I was going to give a talk about YOLO. You only live once. Have you heard that? So we say, you only live this life once. So make it count. You only live this life once. But the teaching of all the sacred scriptures is that the soul is eternal. Yes? Your soul, your spiritual beings. Okay? Your spirit. That is eternal. Therefore, reality is also eternal. The question is, what kind of experience are we going to have? Do we want to experience joy and bliss? How to achieve that state? So we chant this mantra Om. Om includes all of existence in its seed form, its seed potency, power. Power comes from an idea. Where does an idea come from? Right? See, this society, civilization, it's all based on manifestation of ideas. What manifests the ideas? That is called the consciousness itself. Sorry to get into philosophy, but we're at school anyhow, right? What is the source of an idea? Have you ever had an idea? You wake up and you think, I want to do this. Where did that thought come from? From the mind? What is the mind? The mind sometimes is described to be like this is a very interesting example from the Upanishads. Now we have cars, right? Before there were cars, when these books were written, composed by the sages in the East, they gave the example of a chariot, right? In a chariot, you have a chariot, you have horses, and you have the reins, right? Instead of a steering wheel, you go like this, and the horse goes left. I don't exactly know how it works. Maybe you go like this. I think it's opposite. I don't know. But the horses know. You go like this, and they go that way. You go like this, they go that way. So these reins, that's the mind. That means the mind is not in and of itself conscious. Okay? The horses are our senses. Right? So right now you're looking at me. That's a horse. You're hearing. That's another horse. Can we smell? Let's try to smell something. What do we smell? Incense. That's a horse. Let's touch something. Okay? Touch something. That's a horse. Okay? And space itself, the ability to interact with space through sound. So these are called the senses. We interact with the world through the senses. And they're pulling us in different directions. Your senses ever pull you in a direction?
Every day.
Sometimes it says, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Right? Sometimes it says, don't pay attention in school. Right? So our senses tell us to do different things. And our mind is following the lead of the senses. But in the chariot, what is the chariot? Chariot is the body. Okay, this body is a vehicle, right? You're learning in school, and according to your education, you go in different directions, according to your desires. I know a lot of people who go to school and they study a major in something, and then they do something completely different. I remember growing up, I'll give you something relatable. Everyone asks you when you're growing up, or they ask you, what are you going to be when you grow up? Why is everyone always worried about growing up? Why can't we just stay youthful, right? Everyone was always asking me, what are you going to be when you grow up? When are you going to... And I wanted to be, guess, what do you think I wanted to be? Any ideas? No.
A magician.
I wanted to be a firefighter. Oh. He said it. Yes. Good. Thank you. She said it. Thank you. Firefighter. That's cool, right? I wanted to be a firefighter, and I wanted to play sports. I wanted to play hockey. My dad grew up in Canada, Toronto. He was a hockey player. I wanted to play hockey. I wanted to beat up people and get beat up. Be on a team. Try to do something. So everyone was always telling me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I never thought I would be a monk, but I met my guru when I was a boy, 9 years old, and my life completely was transformed. And I went back and forth to India every year, and then I lived there for 16 years. When I graduated from school, I lived in India for 16 years in a monastery, and I studied there and I served there. It's a very strange story. We don't have time right now. It's a very exciting, exotic story. I'm actually starting a podcast series where we talk about this story and talk about spiritual life. But for me, to be a monk isn't that I am... Some people think, oh, you're a monk, it means you're like renouncing everything or repressing yourself. No. This is a path of joy and celebration, right? Otherwise, don't be a monk, right? Otherwise, if you're repressing your desires, then you end up disturbing others, right? So in our life, we try not to disturb anyone. We try to serve others. That is our process. Our mission is called serve love. Very simple. The boiled down essence of everything. A lot of times religions complicate things. This person is good, those people are bad. My religion is right, your religion is wrong. I'm not here to teach you about religion. Whatever your faith is, we honor that faith. We're a universalist system, meaning we have our particular practice, but we see that all of us, all people in the world are part of the same spiritual family. In the Vedas, it's called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. One family. One spiritual family. That's the only thing that can erase the division between us, is to develop a greater sense of belonging, not just to human beings, but even the birds and the animals and the trees. They're also in that same family of spirit. Okay, so now we're back at Om. Om is beginning. It begins in the throat, right? Down here. That's like the beginning. And then in the cavity of the mouth, and ma, the lips. Beginning, middle, end. But it's a cycle, continually flowing every day. When the sun rises, you don't say the sun is born. When the sun sets, you don't say the sun died, right? When you woke up this morning, oh, hello sun, welcome to the world, right? The sun is alive. So we are alive. We are born, but we already existed before and will exist after. This is the lesson or teaching of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. We are eternal spiritual beings. Never was there a time when we did not exist, nor in the future shall we ever cease to be. That leads us to a problem, right? Also, that's called the problem of suffering. Anyone ever had some pain? Anyone ever felt pain, maybe in your body, maybe in your heart? Which pain was worse? Heart pain. It's true, heart pain is very painful, but physical pain is also very painful, so that means you're pretty lucky. Right? You're here, you can move your hands, you can move your legs, you can move your head. You're able to move, you're alive, right? So you're good, you're lucky. A heart pain is there, no problem. Heart pain means you're alive. Right? If you didn't feel, then how would you be alive? Rocks don't have heart pain. My other rock friend doesn't love me anymore. My rock friend broke up with me. So pain is real, no problem. But this problem of suffering. So Om also talks about spirit. Om means the soul or the spirit. Soul is a word we use to think of something spiritual separate from the body, right? But soul is called a jivatma. It means the animating force, okay? So you have jivatma means that which animates, the animating principle in the world. That is the Atman, the Paramatman, God and the soul, okay? So this syllable Om includes the conception of the Supreme, the Super Soul, the individual self, and something else. Something else. So now we talk about the Brahma Gayatri. Right? Is that all that is there? Us and God? Is there anything else? This is called Shakti. Has anyone heard of this word, Shakti? Shakti, what does Shakti mean? Shakti means power. But not power as a masculine force, like, powerful. Powerful, it said God is powerful. That power of the Supreme, that is Shakti. Shakti means the feminine principle. It's described to be like two halves of the absolute truth. This is very integral to the Eastern traditions of India, that God is not simply alone, it's a masculine entity. God, the old man in the clouds. That is one aspect, no problem. God is the old man in the clouds, no problem. But we understand God as, if you were God, what would you like to do? Sleep, okay. So one aspect of God is always sleeping. He's called Vishnu. He's on the causal ocean of milk, and he's resting. And in his mind, you know what's happening? All of existence. Right? So he dreams, and in the dream of the causal Lord Vishnu, it's described from all of his pores, okay? Vishnu has each pores of his body, from that manifests the universe. And he lays there, and you know what he's doing? And as he breathes out, all of existence manifests from his pores. And he breathes in, everything comes back within him. Right? So sleeping is good, no problem. What else would you like to do? When you're done sleeping, what do you want to do? Eat. Okay, good. So there's one form of the Lord called Jagannath. And every day it's described that he's fed 50 times a day, but it's all very nice stuff. Tasty, and nothing that harms others, ahimsa. Right? And as soon as they wipe his mouth clean, they bring him the next meal. Okay? What do you want to do after you eat when you're tired of eating? Sleep. Okay. Good. So then you get to be Vishnu and sleep again. After that, do you want to do anything else?
Probably go to the bathroom, to be honest.
Okay, good. No problem. Everything is possible. So our form of the Lord that we worship is known as Krishna. He is always youthful. He's not an old man. And he is not separate from the Shakti, the goddess, Sri Radha. Sri Radha and Sri Krishna together are described to be the absolute truth. Right? We worship the Supreme Lord with the principle of the feminine counterpart of the Lord, Sri Radha. If you look at, have you heard of Sita Ram? So Sita is not less than Ram, she's part of Ram. Okay? Sita isn't just, there's this lady called Sita. Okay? Sita and Ram are one. Okay? This is called Shakti, the principle of Shakti. So in this world, we mostly live in, right? Anybody heard of the patriarchy?
Yes.
Do you like the patriarchy?
No.
Why not?
Unfair.
It's unfair. Why is it unfair?
Because women are considered to be less sometimes.
Yes, this is wrong. Okay, so the Vedas teach us that God is, right, there's different religious traditions, there's different understandings, but generally religion, people think of it as there's like a messenger, known as Guru, and then there's God, generally understood to be masculine. But they leave out the principle of Shakti, right? In Vedic thought, we say Sat, Chit, Ananda. Sat means the Guru and the existence principle. Chit means your consciousness and the God principle. Ananda means the feminine aspect of the Lord, which is of the nature of giving bliss, of giving joy, of serving. So we meditate upon that aspect. Okay? So Radha, Krishna, in the Vedic thought, they are described to be the absolute truth. They are also manifesting as Sita Ram. They are manifesting as Lakshmi Narayan. And Shri Radha's potency, right? Look at this bulb. You see the bulb? What's going on there?
Glowing?
It's glowing. Okay, so the bulb, you have like a glass and the filaments. But there's something flowing into it that gives it the power to glow. What is that?
Energy.
Huh? Electricity. What is electricity? Right? Electricity is like force, power. This is called Shakti. Okay, you learned this today in class, Shakti. So we say God and his Shakti are one. Shakti, Shakti Mator, Abeda. Abeda means non-different. So the possessor of the power and the power itself are not different. Why? See this candle here? It's an experiment, okay? What's happening here in this candle? It's a flame, okay? So what's the nature of the flame? Good. To rise. What else is it? What's its quality? What's the quality of the fire? Heat. It's warm. When you're cold, you can... And the other one, it's light. Okay, so when it's dark at night, you can light a candle and you can see. And when it's cold, you can have a fire and you can be warm. So what is the fire? What is the fire? It's orange. Okay, good. Another quality. Sometimes you have blue fire, or purple fire, or green fire, the yellow fire. So, okay, I'm going to give you an example to help you understand Shakti. Okay, you know what Shakti means now? Okay, there's God, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lordess, as they say in the Temple of Peace. God and the Goddess. Shakti. Generally, we think of God and Goddess as masculine and feminine, but it's deeper than that. It's a principle. Okay, you see the fire? The fire exists, right? The fire is existing. The nature of the fire to give heat and to give light, that is the principle of the Shakti. This is as it's described in Vedanta. You understand? So the fire has warmth, and the fire has light. That's the principle of the goddess Shri Radha. And Krishna is the fire itself. Right? Because you could say, okay, there's something warm. That's not a fire. Or there's something that's light. That's not a fire. But the power behind the light and the power behind the warmth, that is Shakti. So this brings us back to the Brahma Gayatri, and then we'll stop, and then we'll have questions and answers, okay? Okay, Brahma Gayatri, generally, this is taught in Indian schools. We chant this mantra 3 times a day, right? We do our Brahma Gayatri. Generally, we keep it silent, but it's also distributed openly because this is very auspicious and very powerful. So in schools, this is chanted. Okay, so at the end of this, I'm not going to recite this all for you now. You have your guru here. Bhargo Devasya. In the end of this mantra, there's the word Bhargo Devasya. Bhargo, you know what Bhargo means? Bhargo means power, Shakti. In Hindi, or in Sanskrit, Shakti means power. But Shakti means what is the feminine aspect of God. This is the Vedanta. So we say, oh, that person has a lot of Shakti. It means they're very strong. Who here has a lot of Shakti? Who's very strong? All right, that means within every soul, the soul is called anima, right? The animating principle. And there's both sides to that, anima, animas, masculine, feminine. So the nature of consciousness is that it can appear in different forms. It's not confined. That's why society is evolving now in its understanding of masculine and feminine, right? And all this gender and all these things. It's because people are evolving in their consciousness. They're opening up to the reality of more experience, right? So down with the patriarchy. Yes?
Yes.
But also we should serve the Lord. Serve each other. That means balanced spirituality. Our philosophy isn't to say, this is supreme and that is low. Understand the principle of the fire and understand that Shakti and Shaktiman, which means the feminine principle and the masculine principle, should work together. Does that make sense? They should work together. Right? Anyone have a brother or sister? Okay, do you guys fight? Yeah, a little bit? No problem. Fighting is, yes, he's like, yes, definitely. Fighting is okay, but at the end of the day, you're still family, okay? You fight with each other, but hopefully you don't really hurt each other. Try to, non-harm is a good principle. But fighting is okay, no problem. A little bit. Not too much. Don't go against nature. You're going to be bound to fight and quarrel. But even when you fight, you should love. Okay? Try to love each other. So understand this principle. The fire is, and the heat and the light is the masculine and the feminine. Bhargo Devasya. In the Gayatri mantra you chanted, it said the power of Devasya, which means the supreme spirit. That is Shakti. Dhimahi, we meditate upon that. So for us in the Vaishnav path, we understand the Brahma Gayatri. It's encompassing all of material existence and as a portal to spiritual existence. So we're trying to realize the nature of the self, self-realization, and then realize how we can do the best good and help others. So this is our principle. Ultimately, we meditate upon serving that absolute truth, serving the divine masculine, the divine feminine. That is called Shri Radha and Shri Krishna. That is our principle. So that is our meditation. The best way we can develop connection with them is as that mantra that our dear Asana recited. We can do it one more time together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this mantra is the combined names of Radha and Krishna. Shakti, Shaktiman. Power, the heat and the warmth of the light, and the light itself. All right? Hare is a name for Radha, calling out to her for her shelter and her mercy. Krishna is the name of the all-attractive, the beautiful Lord. He's always playing with his friends in Vrindavan. He's delegated all his duties. If you were God, you have a big job. For a while, it's fun. Oh, I want to be in charge, and I want to run this and run that. After a while, you get bored. You say, okay, I'm going to expand myself and have other people do it. So that's what God does. Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Okay, you do all the management. Devatas, Indra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni. Do all the management. I'm going to play with my friends. I'm going to be with my beloveds and dance and sing. This is not some sentimental, oh, this is fun. This is actually the core concepts given in our deepest scriptures. It sounds like a very simplified version, but in our Vedic scriptures, in the Bhagavat, this is as it's described. The absolute form of the Godhead is playing in his own realm with his beloveds and his friends, eating, resting, dancing, and also taking care of those in his family. And all the other forms of the Godhead, they can do all the different management, no problem. But ultimately, who wants to be perpetually a manager, right? So we should manage our own loving affairs. That's our philosophy, okay? Hare Krishna. Pranams to you all. Okay? We can stop, or if you want a couple questions, I don't know. Here's a question. Yeah, what's up?
What are you wearing?
What am I wearing? Good question. This is as a monk, I'm wearing the robes given to me by our tradition, which signifies this color. You know what this color is called? Peach. Good. It's kind of peachy, right? It's actually described, what we're trying to make it look like is, when the sun rises and you see this color in the sky? Coral peach, good. That's a Maui answer. Coral peach. It's called Arun Varna, the color of the sky kissed by the morning sun. Okay, that's Arun Varna. And it's the color that signifies the love of Radha for Krishna. And that we take shelter of her love and try to serve Krishna with her spirit of love. That's what it symbolizes. Okay? Crabs?
Yeah.
It reminds you of crabs? Okay.
Also a Maui answer.
And
Also a Maui answer.
Also a Maui answer. Okay, any other questions? Good? Okay. Yes.
I think that not quite sure how to formulate this question. I think it would be really interesting for you to express that moment when you knew in your heart that this was your path and to choose to be a monk, because you obviously are very bright and had many choices available to you, and I think it would be fascinating for them to hear how you came to that choice in your heart.
You want to hear about that? That's kind of boring, no?
Yeah. You want to hear it, not that it's boring.
Okay.
You want to hear it, yes.
Okay. So my guru wanted me to be a monk. He didn't want me to, right? Guru is someone who can see, like, the best path for you. And so he can encourage you in that path. So when I was a little boy, I was 9, 10, I met my guru, and I took this mantra, I changed my name and all those things. But actually my name before it was changed was Ram. So it was a spiritual name already. I was Ram, but I became Rasik. And it's more specifically a kind of Braj name, which is referring to Krishna and his land where he plays with Radha and his friends. And at 9, I went to India with my father and came back, and it was such a magical experience. Ultimately, I don't know how much, I don't want to get into the details of the story. It's kind of like a long story. 5, 10 minutes? 5 minutes, good. I like that, strong. Not 5, 10, 5. Okay, it was very magical. I went every year as a boy. Every year I went to India for 1 month. I did pilgrimage. We had about 1,000, 1,200 people there, all from around the world. When I was 10, I received Gayatri Mantra initiation. And at that time, since that time forward, my guru actually asked me, he's like, oh, you should be a monk. So in retrospect, I think of this more as he could see within me my calling, and he wanted to encourage me into that, right? But as a teen, I was thinking, oh, right, I want to be a firefighter, right? It wasn't that formulated. Why? When you're a kid, you don't really know what you want to do, right? Some people say if every kids knew what they wanted to be when they're 5 or 6, everyone would be a cowboy and a princess. Okay? Right? So you're trying to in a stage of discovery, so this was not a very formulated thought. But every year I would see my guru 3, 4 times, and he was very sweet. Like I said, our process is more a way of life than a religion. It has its belief system, its traditions, but those are all in support of the spiritual practice, which ultimately is meant to transcend all the material designations in the ego. So ultimately, even though I'm like dressed in robes like a Swami, my understanding is that I'm not this thing. I'm something deeper. I'm spiritual being, trying to serve and transcend these designations. Then we can perform what's called bhakti. Bhakti means loving devotion. And the pure form of that loving devotion is once you've transcended the false ego and the false idea of self as limited to this reality that we're in now. Okay, I know that sounds like a very woo-woo metaphysical answer, but that's the TLDR version. Okay? So every year I would see my guru. He would come to our town and he would ask me, he said, now you're this tall, right? When you're like this, then you will join my mission, serve, be a monk, live in the monastery. I remember when I was about 15, I had a very powerful experience. My guru spoke a lot of very sweet pastimes, as well as very powerful teachings. And so early, it became very deeply ingrained within my consciousness, and I was really endeavoring to offer myself in service to that. I was not struggling, but I had adopted this idea of sacrifice in service to something, right? Because it had been something I had heard since I was a boy, 10, 11. I want you to become a monk, serve the mission. And so I started to deeply think about this principle, and I was very philosophically inclined. I remember one time I got in trouble. I have 5 sisters, 4 of them elder sisters. So they were very good teachers, as older sisters can be, strong teachers. One time I lost something. I think it was like I got like a Swiss Army knife for a present or something, and I lost it. And my elder sister said, "Why did you lose it? Where did it go?" I said, "Everything's temporary anyway." And she was like, "This is bad. It's a bad attitude. Don't lose things." So I was very like, you know what? everything's temporary anyway. What really matters? So when I was about 15 or 16, for 1 week every year, my guru would come to our town. It was more like a little village, and he would give a week festival there, and singing, and talks, and feasting, very nice kind of preparations. So he spoke about a very beautiful saint who had offered his life in this process of devotion. And I remember after that, we were basically living on a farm. We had 11 horses. And for those who think that sounds fun, it wasn't. Right? For me, all my friends would say, wow, it must be so fun. You must ride the horses all day long. I said, no, I clean up their poop. That's mostly what I do. But horses are fun. They have very, they say horsing around, right? They have very strong personalities. They're very playful. And we had lots of cows. We had dogs and kittens and peacocks. At one point, we had like 15 peacocks. Mama peacock, daddy peacock, and all the babies. So I would, after the classes in the evening, I would go and feed the peacocks and feed the cows and feed the horses. And we had roosters at one point, and we had lots of kittens and cats. So I would go and feed everybody. And it was a stormy day. So it was like this morning. It was thunder, lightning. And it was evening time now, like 8 p.m. So there'd be a thunder strike, and then it would go black. Thunder strike, and then black. I remember sitting, and my guru had been telling me this for years, and I was really praying, how can I follow this? And because of what he had spoken, it's so sweet and very, it said when the saintly person speaks, it creates a kind of spiritual revolution in the heart. So I remember sitting there and really praying, oh, please, Krishna, right? It was beautiful, dark, starry night. When you see the lightning, you could see everything. And then it was dark and beautiful, all the stars. Like here in Maui, it's a very clean atmosphere, and you can see the stars very brightly. And I was praying, let me offer my life in your service. So it was a very powerful moment for me. For a few days, I was very quiet. But life is very interesting. Life, you go through many different stages and many progressions. For me, that was a powerful moment. And it's said that if one time you offer your heart and soul and love, then that is like a form of, like a marriage, right? Like a vow, right? So they say, ek baar dekhle, if you once have a tear in your eye and you pray sincerely for this relationship with Spirit, with divine love, with the absolute truth, then now you've entered into that kind of relationship. So I've seen from that point on, my life has kind of gone automatically forward. After that, a couple years later, I went to move to India, and I lived there for 16 years. And then just in 2020, I came back, sent by my teacher, and we started an ashram in New York. We have a 60-acre spiritual ashram for everyone to come and practice and study. It's not about a religion. It's more of a spiritual path. So that's where we are now. And now I travel and I teach, and with our other monks. So thank you for your patience and your time. Hare Krishna. Namaste. Okay?
May I ask just one more question?
Okay, sure.
Can you speak to, for all of us, what the difference between spirituality and religion is?
So this is a good, short, long question. TLDR version. We all have ways to approach divinity, just like we all have different cultures, right? Maui culture is not the same as Texas culture. It's not the same as laid-back California cool. It's not the same as New York tough, right? So everyone has their different cultures. Their cultures, the religions are like the expressions of the culture endeavoring to approach true divinity. So it's an expression of culture. And God appears in all these forms, even though God is one, to allow different cultures and different peoples to approach him. And so that's why we don't discriminate and say Hinduism is good and Christianity and Islam is bad, Buddhism is bad. We say every teaching, every religion has a way to help people approach divinity. This is a very delicate subject because also in our scripture it says most religions are cheating people. It doesn't mean the religion is bad. It means the teachers if they're not sincerely practicing, if they think of it as like a business, like, oh, you chose the profession of monkhood. For me, this is not a profession. It's like a life path, and I'm trying to serve. So religion is not a business, right? Like you have an iPhone and a Samsung, and you have this food chain and that food chain. Religions aren't businesses. When they become focused on the business of religion, then they can become corrupted. But the principle is how to develop relationship between the spirit and the divine, the supreme. So the principle is good, and the principle helps people develop a mood of spiritual family, because otherwise we'd be divided, different cultures and different belief systems, then we tend to fight more and argue over these things. So religions help people kind of come to some level of harmony and agreements. But truly, our teaching is that we don't follow either religiosity or irreligiosity. We follow spirituality. That means to understand our nature as spiritual and in relation to true spiritual essence. So we have our different cultures through which we express that spirituality. You could call that religion. But there are many people who are spiritual and religious, and there are many people who are religious and not spiritual. So we try to be spiritual, as well as we may have, you may all have your different faiths, your families will have their different faiths. We should find the essence of the faith. So a Swami is supposed to be someone who can find the essence of the faith and honor and cherish that essence. All right? Okay? Thank you. Okay? Thank you for letting me come back to school.
From your hearts, 1, 2, 3, big mahalo. 1, 2, 3.
Mahalo.